Thanks for joining us on Coast to Coast Pest Talk.
All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to Coast Pest Talk. I'm your host, Gabe Seymour with Pest Patrol. I'm here with Andy Sinevsky with Perimetech Pest Management. So you put together, Andy, a bunch of stats here, kind of market research on the direction of the pest control industry. Where do you want to start? You want to start just kind of walking through that, or do you have other summary or background or what?
No, I think we start right off at the industry. What's the state of the industry? This was something that was like a complete kick in the stomach for me. And I think we talked about this, a couple weeks ago. I started looking into some of the numbers on the, market research on our industry in pest management. And I had been like sort of brought up with this idea that the industry, it's mostly the little guys, most of the industry is these small operators, and we're the backbone of pest management. Without us little guys, we're protecting everybody and all that kind of thing. And so I started to look at, okay, is that really the case? And much to my dismay, it is not the case. I mean, I think I can definitively say that the little guy is not really I hate to even say it, we're not really a factor. I mean, honestly,
Yep.
I took some public source data, stuff from PCT Top 100 that they publish every year, all the companies, how many employees, how much revenue, all that. Some data from the MPMA on, how big is the U.S. pest control market as a whole, how many companies are there, how many employees in the country work in pest management. And boy, when you start shaking that data out, it tells a pretty dramatic story. And it tells a story of real change, like pretty epic change. And over the past 20 years, and really the past 10 or so, maybe 8, 9, 10 years, 2015 or so till now, where things really, really changed. It was pretty much the same before that. So just to review some of this, some of the scary numbers, if you take the top 100 companies on that PCT top 100 list, they control 90% of the U.S. pest control market. 90%, the top 100. That means the sub 100 companies, I'm calling it everybody else, has less than 10%. It's 9.78% of the market. And that means we're all sharing $1.07 billion in total revenue, which sounds like a lot of money until you see how many companies.
Doesn't sound like that much money.
yeah. So the U.S. market is $11.42 billion. Okay. And 90% of that stays in the top 100 companies. That means the remaining companies are splitting that 1.07 billion. And that's among 31,467 little bitty companies. It averages to something like $56,000 a year per company.
Yeah.
And when I started to see this, man, it was like, I was affected by that. I was like, oh my God, like I have gone since 97 being in this industry thinking, oh yeah, no, it's the little guys. Now, when I say there's a story of change in here, it was right in 97, in 2000, 2001, 2002. Like this has shifted. This wasn't always the case that the sub 100 companies had such a tiny minority market share. Prior to all this in 2002, when you look at these same numbers, the little guys, the not on the top 100 list, had like 41% market share. So It was an industry, and the biggest players had less than 30%. The medium players, the just under the great big humongous ones, but not the little guys, had like 38%. So you had a plurality of the industry, the little guys, the small operators. That's who the industry was. That was the backbone of the industry. We can't say that anymore.
It may be a little different for me. I'm in Portland, so there's 50 pest control companies here, and a lot of them are small. But one of the things that shocked me on this, the percentage of, what was it, 9.78% of the market is the sub 100. That's crazy. And when you talk about that in actual dollars, where you have $10 billion, 10.4 whatever billion dollars being done by the top 100, and then $1 billion. So all of the other companies are doing a tenth of the, like, combined are doing a tenth of what the top 100 are. That's crazy. Yeah, totally blew my mind.
Yeah. No, me too. Now, one of the other interesting things that I found doing this was actually breaking out the number of employees.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that we would see a similar sort of spread, that we'd have 10% of the employees. So if you break this out, if you add up every single employee that's reported on the PCT Top 100, it's 63,075 employees. Give or take, there's a couple that didn't report how many employees they had. So you could,
Right.
it couldn't really guess. But we can probably say we're pretty close. There's probably less than 5 companies, maybe 10, that didn't report how many employees they had on that list. So, but there's roughly 63,000. That means there's 58,397 employees that work in the sub 100 companies. So that 9.78% market share is paying for almost half of the employees in the industry, which is kind of shocking. It's a little bit shocking.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
So yeah, and so what are your thoughts on that? I don't want to filibuster you.
Okay, the very first thing I think of when I see it's roughly half. So roughly half the employees are working for the PCT Top 100, and roughly half are working for the other, 31,000 companies.
Right.
Okay. What strikes me is the productivity of scale.
Sure.
So when you have the same amount of people, one group of people is generating $1 billion, and one group of people is generating $10 billion, and it's almost the same number of people.
Yeah. So almost the same input labor.
Yeah.
And 10 times the amount of revenue.
Yeah.
So does that mean on average, those 63,000 people that work for the PCT Top 100, they make on average 10 times more than the...
Definitely. All of them.
Individually, their salary, right? Like whatever the normal one-man operation here in town, he makes 10 times less than what that person that works at one of these big major companies.
Nope.
No way.
I mean, I don't even think the techs at these big companies are making 50% higher,
right,
than a small company.
Yeah.
This page that you put together is striking. I was pretty shocked when I read through it. That the employees, I think between the employees and the dollar discrepancy, that's the thing that got me. Okay. I was like, same number of employees, 10K, 10x.
10x. Yeah.
I was like, that is absolutely insane.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
So that was the one that grabbed you the most, that number?
That's the one. Obviously that 9.78% is that just makes me sad, Yeah. The other one is a combination of a lot of anger and also wanting to scale my business. I have a hard time seeing that our industry would be doomed when I'm like, I don't know how they're gonna like take you out or me out. Like, I could see them buying out a lot of people, but if at the end of the day everything else is owned by Terminex and it's Terminex or me, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. That's one of the main reasons why we're doing this podcast, is to be a support to those, those one-man guys, the guys that are trying to grow from 1 to 2, from 2 to 8 to whatever, and show people You're not crazy. You're not alone. We employ half of the pest control workforce.
That's right. For a tenth of the money. This is
That's
great.
right.
So is it okay for someone then to say, look, I'm not trying to grow as fast as I could possibly grow?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd ask, I think there's probably different seasons, right? Everybody's in a different season. You have your different highest, most important values. There may be seasons where you're like, I got to scale this thing and I'm going to give it all I've got and I'm going all in 110%. And then you may have seasons where you're not going to do that. And I don't see any issue with that. But that is definitely the cultural, like you and I have talked about, that's definitely the cultural push is if you're not planning on scaling to 150 people and then sipping a beer at the beach, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. If I have one more person call me and say they want to 10x or 100x me in some way, I think I'm going to lose it. I think I've had, and I'm sure you probably get the same sort of thing. I'll get these like marketing things. Oh, we're going to get don't you want like 10x the amount of leads? I'm like, no, I don't. I couldn't handle 10x, 100x. So like, what are you talking about? Like, I see some of these things where people will put on so much work and they won't be able to deal with it. Like, no, I think we're pretty good with what we're doing currently.
You don't want a 10x, bro?
No, I don't want 10x. No, thanks.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things I'm realizing, I just hit year 3 and I'm starting to see and feel more comfortable with the expansions and contractions of the industry over the seasons.
Yeah.
And to be able to see that and enjoy it and kind of recognize, okay, there's different seasons for things. And so there's a season for foot on the gas. There's a season for recoup during the fall and winter and get everything kind of back up to speed and get ready to put the foot on the gas again. I think that's at least how my business is. I know yours is probably more steady because you're all commercial, but yeah. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening to Coast Pest Talk. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, leave us a review on your favorite podcast catcher. We appreciate your support. Thanks for listening.